ruffling feathers. Hey, welcome back to the Hype Esquire show. Recently, I was asked who I plan on voting for in the 2020 election. Well, there's two things I can assure you. Number one, I have not a clue of who I'll be voting for in 2020, partly because we still have yet to see all the candidates, nor have we had adequate time to study their political backgrounds or the platforms that they'll be running on. So how would I know at this point? However, number two is what I do know at this point. Bernie Sanders, not on my list. First off, ain't nobody want to hear his temper tantrum about the DNC showing favoritism towards Hillary during the 2016 election.
Now, you know, Senator Sanders, a lot of people say you didn't really lose the Democratic nomination. It got stolen from you the first time around. Do you believe it got stolen from you?
Well, let's just say that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, was not overly sympathetic to our candidacy. Let's just say that they represented the establishment we took on. Let's just say that before the first vote was cast in the 2016 primary election in a caucus in Iowa, my opponent, Secretary Clinton, had 500 superdelegates lined up before the first vote was cast.
He been in government for 30 years. He know how the league operates. If he ain't like how the game was played, he should have dribbled his ball to the other side of the court. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I checked, DNC stood for Democratic National Committee. Newsflash, you're not a Democrat, Bernie. He's an independent. Frankly, I'm appalled that he could just play double dutch hopping back and forth between Democrat and independent whenever it suits him. Second of all, once the writing was on the wall that his campaign was effectively over, not only did he not get out of the way, he haphazardly took his time getting in line to support Hillary, which inevitably led to the Bernie or Bust movement. Be clear, that's gotta be one of the stupidest movements in American history. Why, you ask? Because the movement itself implies some type of moral equivalency between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Therefore, if you couldn't have Bernie, it wouldn't matter anyway. So you elected not to go to the polls. Now fast forward 2 years later, those same Bernie or Busters are complaining about Trump. No, I get to complain. You don't get to complain. This is what you wanted. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this is what Bust looks like. An accused sexual assaulter and drunk on the Supreme Court, just waiting to overturn Roe v. Wade, children being separated from their families at our borders, election interference, huge tax cuts for the wealthy, countless indictments, and not to mention a racist con man and fraud in the White House. Thank you, Bernie or Busters. We couldn't have done it without you. Literally. So I say all that to reiterate my point that if Bernie would have threw all of his support behind Hillary sooner and did more to calm the tension on both sides, we wouldn't be where we're at today. Now last, but certainly not least,
why not support reparations then?
What do you mean by reparations?
By reparations for slave defenders.
I know, but what does that mean exactly?
Money.
Well, I think that right now our job is to address the crises facing the American people and our communities. And I think there are better ways to do that than just writing out a check.
See, the problem with that response is reparations ain't about no crises facing the American people. It's actually about the systematic oppression crises that's been facing the black community since the Atlantic slave trade. And he up here talking about some.
Well, first of all, you mean just a check to every African American?
Yes.
Well, then there's a check to every Native American who were, they wiped out when the settlers first came here. I think the way we go forward is to build America together. There are distressed communities, white communities, there are distressed Latino communities.
Hey Bernie, when we talking reparations, we ain't trying to hear about no other communities, bruh. Especially not the distressed white community.
Are you stupid?
Now don't get me wrong, I am fully aware that there are struggling white communities. But as my guy D.L. Hughley would say,
If you broke and white in America, you have wasted your whiteness. You should put it on eBay and sell it to some niggas that can use it.
pretty much. Look, here's an analogy. The government gives me a new test race car that goes up to 60 miles per hour and gives a white man one that goes 120 miles an hour. We both start racing on a never-ending road at the same time. But because his car can go twice the speed of mine every hour, on the hour, he doubles the distance between us. Now let's say at some point the government radios into our cars telling us to stop where we're at because they can clearly see that the white guy has a really unfair advantage, and they figure that the right thing to do would be to just even the playing field. So they remotely adjust both speedometers to max out at a speed limit of 100 miles per hour. And now since both cars have the same exact capabilities, the playing field is even, right? Absolutely not. Because when I get back on the road at 100 miles an hour and he gets back on the road at 100 miles an hour, he's still hundreds of miles ahead of me. And because we're traveling at the same speed, I will never catch him unless I was given an extra boost that he didn't have. And that boost would represent reparations in this analogy. So every time I think of this,
a lot of African Americans are starting to call for reparations for the many years of stolen labor through slavery. Is that something that you would support as president?
No, I don't think so.
I also think, boy, would it be nice if somebody pointed Bernie Sanders into the direction of the nearest flight of stairs so he could fall down them. But I'm sure you already knew that. Hey, thanks again for watching. Please do not forget to comment, like, subscribe, follow, all the above. Whatever you do, just do something. And I'll be back sooner than you think, I'm sure of it.